Welcome to Turkey, a country where two continents, various cultures and religions meet. In this video, let me bring you on this unforgettable journey across the country. My trip started off in Istanbul, where we stayed for 4 days. We then took the sleeper train to Ankara, where we then transferred on to Cappadocia and stayed for a further 2 days. We then head to the central Turkish city called Kayseri via bus, where we stayed for one final day before flying back to London via Istanbul. Istanbul, a 2,500-year-old city formerly known as Constantinople, the capital city of the Byzantine Empire and the Ottoman Empire, is perhaps the best place to visit for a history enthusiast like me. We started off day 1 quite late since our plane arrived at around 2 Istanbul time. We roamed around the Golden Horn area and listened to the call to prayer at Yeni Mosque. One of the highlights of Istanbul was definitely the mosque that we visited, as we did so-called of a mosque crawl by visiting 7 mosques in 3 days. And the following are the 4 main mosques that we have spent the most time visiting during our trip. We first visited the most iconic sites in Istanbul, the Hagia Sophia and the Blue Mosque complex. So, what is so special about the Hagia Sophia? It is actually not the typical mosque that you see in Turkey, as the building was first built as a cathedral by the Byzantine Emperor Justinian I in 537 AD in what was known as Constantinople. There are therefore lots of remnants of the murals of Jesus, Virgin Mary and angels seen within the mosque. After the Ottoman Turkish Empire captured Constantinople and ended the Byzantine Empire in 1457, the Hagia Sophia was converted into a mosque. Interestingly, given that it was not a purpose-built mosque, the main hall of the Hagia Sophia does not face the direction of Mecca, and the semicircular guiding point, or the mihrab, needs to be slightly tilted when it was being built.
The church, they face the east. This is directly east. Well, Mecca is 6 degrees to the right.
After the Turkish Republic was established by the secular leader Ataturk, the Hagia Sophia was converted into a museum in 1935. But since 2020, the increasingly religious government of Turkey under the leadership of Erdogan decided to convert the building back into a mosque again, which again allowed Islamic prayers to take place inside. And as a result of this, the mural of Virgin Mary and Jesus on the top center of the mosque was covered by a screen, and it can now only be seen from the side. With the magnificent Christian architecture and ornate decorations still preserved, walking through the mosque feels like stepping into a time machine, offering truly unique and inspiring experience for all people visiting it. The Blue Mosque is just next to the Hagia Sophia, with a more typical Turkish architecture style being featured. Although not as old as the Hagia Sophia, it is still completed quite a long time ago during the Ottoman era in 1617 by Sultan Ahmed I, and is believed to be built by the Sultan purposefully to surpass the significance of the Hagia Sophia. On day 3, we have visited the Kayriyeh Mosque. It is located in the Fatih district of Istanbul, near the old city walls of Constantinople, and is quite a conservative Muslim neighborhood. The mosque looks just like any typical mosque from the outside. Although it isn't as big as other mosques like the Hagia Sophia and the Blue Mosque, I would say it's one of the mosques that you should visit on your trip to Istanbul, especially if you enjoy learning about the intricacies of religion. All of the mosque's internal walls were being decorated with Jesus and other biblical figures. Being built in the 11th century originally by Christians and converted into a mosque since the Ottoman conquest, the mosque is literally a smaller version of the Hagia Sophia, but with Jesus and other biblical figures being much better preserved, creating an interesting juxtaposition with the locality's conservative Muslim population. It is also so fascinating to see that these murals are preserved so well in the mosque since Muslims are not supposed to pray in places with idol figures. There are QR codes explaining each mural on the wall, so we had quite a good time learning about Jesus' stories and the life of Virgin Mary. We visited several mosques on day 4, but the mosque that we spent the most time in was the Grand Kamalika Mosque. The mosque is located on the Asian side of Istanbul. It has recently been completed in 2019 by the Turkish government and is the largest mosque in Turkey. In terms of architecture, the mosque has a similar style as the Blue Mosque but much bigger. There is also an interesting museum below, introducing the history of Islam. And since Turkey is the successor state of the Ottoman Empire, which previously ruled Mecca, the city where the holiest Islamic mosque was located in, Turkey owned many of the artifacts that are related to the Kaaba, which are then displayed in the museum. So we end up spending a few hours inside the complex educating ourselves about Islam. Overall, although the mosque is quite an impressive showcase of Islamic Turkish architecture, I feel it lacks the historic depth like Hagia Sophia and the Blue Mosque, and it seems more like a piece of propaganda for Erdogan's pro-Islamic government rather than a true showcase of Islamic art and architecture. Fortunately, the mosque is located on a hilltop location, providing quite a good view of the skyline of Istanbul and the Bosphorus Strait, so it's at least worth the trek from Europe, I guess. Other than mosques, there are also a range of sites that we have visited during our stay in Istanbul. This includes the Grand Bazaar of Istanbul. This was previously the central market of Istanbul, but was now turned into more like a tourist market, mainly selling Turkish delights, tea and other touristy things such as Turkish carpets. Things sold there are quite pricey, so we didn't purchase anything there, but we ended up visiting another mosque again for free outside the bazaar. The cistern of Theodosius is one of the cisterns in Istanbul that was built by the Roman Emperor Theodosius in 443 AD, due to the scarcity of fresh water supplies in the city with an increasing population at the time. Not long after we visited, a light show was shown in the museum, with the first Turkish President Ataturk briefly being featured in the show for some random reason. Overall, the site is quite small with only the size of around 4 basketball fields. There also isn't much history related to the site that is being explained. And given the €14 entrance fee, it is probably the least worth visiting site in the city. If you fancy a bit of shopping around, you should definitely visit Galata Port. This was previously a port for cruises and warehouses, but was now redeveloped into an outdoor mall, where you can find a range of brands including M&S, where you can literally see the entire city of Istanbul, with the Asian side towards the east and the old city of Istanbul towards the south, the area where Hagia Sophia and the Blue Mosque is located in. It was quite rainy outside that day, so it sort of affected our experience over there, but the shopping street was so meticulously designed, offering quite a good shopping experience if you are into it at all. Taksim is the traditional shopping area in Istanbul, similar to Oxford Street in London or Nathan Road in Hong Kong. But differently, the street was still very busy until 11 PM, with a very vibrant nightlife that was unmatchable by both London and Hong Kong. In terms of food, of course I need to try out the kebabs in the city and compare to what I've eaten in the UK. There are actually two main kebabs in Turkey. What is normally served in the UK and Europe are mostly doner kebabs, which are meat that is stacked on a large vertical turning rod, while shish kebabs are grilled cubes of meat, mostly lamb or chicken. I personally find shish kebabs more tastier than doner kebabs, as it is able to retain more of the juice inside the meat compared to what doner kebab can offer. However, we soon realized that Turkish food is not only about kebabs and grilled meat. One of the most special type of restaurants in Turkey are the canteen-style restaurants, where you need to queue to get and pay for the food immediately on the spot before finding a seat in the restaurants. These type of restaurants closely resemble the configuration of economic dining options in restaurants located in Hong Kong, my hometown, so it's quite easy for us to navigate. The best part of these restaurants is that it provides a wide range of good quality food options for a bargaining price. Some dishes also quite resembles East Asian food in Hong Kong, especially the pan-fried turkey leg and the bell pepper stuffed with minced beef. I would say we have had the best type of food in these restaurants, and we are constantly trying to look out for these restaurants on our trip in Turkey after being bored of eating kebabs every day. In terms of desserts, baklava and Turkish delight are the two main types of dessert that we've tried out, with the baklavas being a creamy pastry with pistachio in it, and Turkish delight being some gel starch with sugar and different flavors, which although are quite tasty, was a bit too sweet in my opinion, so we didn't try them too much throughout the trip. We need to talk about transport. Istanbul is definitely a paradise for transport enthusiasts like me, as there are a wide variety of public transport modes for you to choose from, and as a transport enthusiast, I managed to travel on nearly all of them during my 4 short days there, and the following is my review. First off, the metro services. The metro services connects both airports in Istanbul, and this is quite convenient and has an extensive network which is continuing to expand. There are 2 types of trams in Istanbul. The conventional tram system, which mostly serve the hearts of the city in areas near Hagia Sophia and the Taksim area. There is also a heritage tram service there, which only serves 2 short routes in Taksim on the European side and Kadıköy on the Asian side of Istanbul. But you can easily jump on it and take it for free like these guys do if you wish. Similar to the metro, the bus network is extensive and is convenient for traveling around the hilly city of Istanbul. like where the Carrier Mosque is located, which only bus services serve the area. You can also get quite a good view of the Bosphorus Strait and the Golden Horn when you're traveling on land, unlike the metro system which travels mostly underground. The Funicular. Given the rugged terrain of the city, funiculars come in very handy in the city, avoiding the need to trek up steep paths. Taking the Metrobus service is quite eye-opening for me, as this is the first time that I've taken a Metrobus in my life. The Metrobus operates like a frequent metro service but by buses, where there are dedicated platforms for boarding and people can hop on and off of these buses from all doors. Also, buses operate on dedicated lanes, so buses won't need to compete with other vehicles on the main road. The Metrobus services serve as one of the only two connections across the Bosphorus Strait in Istanbul. As such, it is very overcrowded, even there are 2 buses coming every minute, and we are still unable to board until the 5th bus. The ferry across the Bosphorus Strait is the only mode of public transport that we did not take, which is quite a pity, as people say that you can get a good view of the Bosphorus Strait when you're on board. Last but not least, how much does it cost to travel by the public transport system in Istanbul? All of the transport modes cost 20 lira or 45 pence if you are using the Istanbul card for one single journey on one line, and 30 lira or 85 pence if you are traveling on routes across the Bosphorus Strait, which is a fraction of the cost of what you pay in London, but provides a much better service definitely. So in the next video, we'll be traveling from Istanbul to Ankara by a sleeper train called the Ankara Express, then traveling by coach to Cappadocia, where we see some strange rocks around the area. Stay tuned for the next video. Thank you for watching.